24 hours since horrific Air India crash. Accident spot turns into a graveyard. Lone survivor amongst 241 dead on board. Walks away from accident spot with bruises. British national survives fatal crash. Miracle man or God's own child? Top focus on 5 Live. A focus this evening on 5 Live is going to be on the man who cheated death. We're telling you the story of the 45-year-old British national who survived this horrific crash. I'm Sneha Mordani. This is 5 Live. A quick check of the headlines first. Hunt for clues intensify. Forensics, NIA team, ATS and other central agencies at crash site. All eyes on black box and DVR recovery. Over 260 people dead in Ahmedabad plane tragedy. Prime Minister Narendra Modi visits the crash site in Ahmedabad, assessing the situation on the ground. Also meets injured victims at the civil hospital. Lone survivor Vishwash speaks out, says he survived as the seat broke out of the plane. Vishwash added that he was on the opposite side of the hostel and he saw people die in front of him.
थोड़ा टाइम के लिए तो मेरे को लगा था कि मैं भी मरने वाला हूँ, लेकिन जब मेरी आँख खुल के मैं देखा ना तो मुझे लगा मैं जिंदा हूँ। तो मैंने ट्राई किया, जब मेरी सीट से वो मेरी बेल्ट निकाला, मैंने वो ट्राई किया जहाँ से निकल सकता वहाँ से, तो मैं निकल गया वहाँ से।
No closure, no dead bodies. Shattered families queue up for DNA tests to identify their loved ones. 216 samples collected so far.
एयर इंडिया वाले को बोलो 1 करोड़ मैं दूंगी, मेरा पापा मुझे वापस करो। आपके हिसाब से ही मेरे पापा गए हैं ना, आपको चेक करना था, मैंने क्यों नहीं चेक किया?
After Israel's preemptive strikes, Iran responds, launches 100 drones towards Israel. Iranian media confirms Revolutionary Guard Corps head Hossein Salami has been killed. All right, we'll kickstart this edition with some news coming in as far as the investigations into the horrific crash is concerned. This is the big story we are breaking at this hour. Air India Flight 171 black box has been recovered. Remember, this is the black box that as always will be giving important clues as to what could have possibly happened there. As far as the last few seconds is concerned, just before the crash, what was the kind of the communication? The black box, remember, offers important clues into the investigations in many cases. The hunt for it actually started today, is what we had learned from our sources. Right now, the information is that the black box has been retrieved on the rooftop, is what we are learning. Divyesh is getting in more details. What else are you picking up, Divyesh? This is a significant breakthrough as far as the investigations are concerned. Nagarjun Dwarkanath also getting in more details. Nagarjun, essentially this would offer us clues as to what could have possibly gone wrong, and hence this recovery is extremely important, isn't it?
Sneha, it's absolutely true. It's a big headway in the investigation as to
Yes.
what exactly went on in this Air India crash. And we have been looking since morning, is what I was told, for the black box. Yesterday the priority was to recover all the dead bodies and the mortal remains and ensure that the surrounding area is completely sanitized, and now it's the time for investigation. Today, the Air India officials and also the Aircraft Accident Investigation Board officials had reached the spot, and finally they have recovered the black box. these are two separate units in the tail of the aircraft. Sneha, what we call colloquially is black box, usually is about flight data recorder and cockpit voice recorder. What did the pilot tell the co-pilot? Was there miscommunication? Was the instructions not heard properly? What was the communication to the ATC? And also the flight data recorder gives in critical analysis as to was the engine did the engine go away in terms of the fuel pressure as such. Why did the aircraft lose its engine power? Was the fuel contamination? All of it would be the reason why the flight data recorder might get crucial information, and that's the reason it's a big headway in the investigation at this point of time. Air India has finally taken the black box, and now the data also would be shared with other foreign agencies like NTSB as well, who would be coming here. Boeing also would be taking up the data and analyzing as to further what should be done and what course of action needs to be taken. And should they all, the main reason what this would show is, was it a technical glitch? If that's the technical glitch, then most likely the Air India and also Boeing might even ground all the 787 till further investigation of full report is carried out. So this becomes crucial piece of data for all the investigative agencies at this point of time.
Well, absolutely. And as per protocol, the device is going to be sent to forensic labs, and of course, it's going to be thoroughly investigated. A very significant development. Nagarjun Dwarkanath, be with us. I'll just come back to you in a moment from now. I'm going to go straight across to Preeti as well. Preeti has been tracking those details. She continues to be with us from the crash site. Of course, Nagarjun Dwarkanath with us as well. Divyesh also from the civil hospital, and Vidya from the DNA sampling spot is what we've been given to understand. Preeti, coming to you, you've been speaking to just so many people, those who've been left behind. It's a very difficult situation to be in, not just as a reporter as well, where you talk to people who are coming to, given their DNA samples, because they know that the dead body as is never going to be handed over to them. And in that sense, there will be very little dignity, isn't it?
Sneha, I've been at the civil hospital where the DNA sampling is taking place, where the post-mortem is there, where the mortuary is there. They're moving some of the bodies from the post-mortem, from the mortuary to cold storages because it's overflowing, and the DNA testing is going to take at least 3 days. But I want to give our viewers an understanding. I've managed to come to a position where we can actually see now the tail end of the aircraft AI-171, the Dreamliner. This, if I can ask my camera person, Sanjay, to actually zoom in, you can see 2 cranes that have been brought in. You can see the investigative agency that is also here, multiple agencies, the DGCA, the Civil Aviation Ministry, then you also have the AAIB, the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau. There are a team of 35 people from there. You can see there is seemingly now an attempt to move the tail of the Dreamliner. This is where, because the tail end assembly is the area, Sneha, where at least the agencies hope to recover a black box. If you look at it, there are 2 black boxes in an aircraft, one in the tail end assembly. So there is a possibility, because at least the tail end assembly is intact. And since the course of the last 2 hours, we've seen at least a lot of movement around there, because the entire site is now cordoned off. One must understand, Sneha, that as the Dreamliner had crashed, the debris is scattered between 900 meters as well. Yesterday, of my own account, I had seen, from the tail end 900 meters away, there was a door that was also found. So one can very well understand, the task, the mammoth task that the investigative agencies have in their hand. But what I can really tell you, and you can see, Sanjay is going to continue to close in on the visuals that are coming in. You can see investigative officers, at the site. This is the area of maximum focus for all agencies right now, because this at least is a controlled area where they know that they can possibly pull out some crucial information through the black box of the aircraft. Like I said, there were 2 black boxes. One, in all possibility, should be found in the tail end of it. This, of course, is the vantage point. All right, the latest that we're getting in right now is that black box has, in fact, word coming in, been found. I'm going to go back to you, Sneha. We're going to try and get in more information on this. And Back to you shortly.
Right, okay. Now, of course, there were two black boxes is what Preeti is talking about at this point in time. But the confirmation that we have is that one black box has been recovered from the roof. And that's what we were talking about with Nagarjun Dwarkanath. I'm going to go back again to Naga for more on that. Take us through the details, Nagarjun. What now? It goes to the forensics department. Okay, I'll in fact continue to be with Preeti, who is getting in more details on the recovery, Preeti, of the black box. And what else do you see around you, if you could give us an overview right now?
Sneha, what we do know now that one of the black boxes that have been recovered has actually been recovered from right here behind me, and this has been the tail end of the aircraft. This was the area where they were looking to recover the black box from, and that's where they've been managed to recover it. Now you can see two cranes that have been moved in, and Sanjay will show you on either sides of the tail end of the wreckage of the aircraft, and there is an attempt to move this wreckage now, and that is, of course, after the recovery of the first black box. A lot of investigative action there, a lot of personnel from both the DGCA, the AIB, the civil ministry officials, all of them had been focused right now at the tail end of the aircraft. So this is, of course, the tactical part of it all. And as you pointed out earlier, Sneha, the human aspect of it unfolding at the civil hospital, which is really not far from here, because the BG Medical Hostel, and that is the mess area of the BG Medical Hostel, is very, very close to the civil hospital. That is where, of course, the human tragedy and the expanse of that is actually unfolding. And that's the sad part, because while DNA samples are being submitted, what we've been clearly given to understand is going to take at least 3 days. At least 3 days for DNA samples to be matched with the ones of their loved ones who are giving in these samples. Back to the studio.
Preeti, I'll just come back to you in a moment from now. Quick word once again from Nagarjun Dwarkanath for more on the kind of clues, Naga, that the black box essentially holds. And what is the process from here on when it goes to the forensics? How soon do we get to know what could have possibly happened there that eventually led to this fatal crash?
The data goes to the forensic lab, Sneha, and post that the accident investigation board takes over the data, sits with all the experts, sits with the Air India captains also, and then analyze the data. And also, they try to simulate if the data that is showing is also not manipulated. They take it to the simulator once again, get into demonstration and simulation, putting in the same data that at 625 feet, if there was no power, would the aircraft be crashing at the hostel? All the kilometers, the data, the high speed would be recreated, and finally a report would be submitted to the government also, not just to the government, but Boeing as well. If there was any technical glitches and it was a gearing glitch from Boeing as well, the report would be given to Boeing, asking the Boeing company to ensure that all the 787 would be grounded across the world for till further investigation comes out or some clarity comes out. But at this point of time, it seems like one of the accidents that has happened, and Boeing 787 has been flown across the globe for many, many years now, and it seems to be one of the safest aircrafts. Experts have been saying that maybe flap configuration was wrong, maybe undercarriage was stuck, or there was just not enough lift, and 1 in a billion chances where both engines have failed. If both engines have failed, what was the reason? All this data would be crucially analyzed by experts, including Boeing, Air India, and our government representatives from the Aircraft Accident Investigation Board.
That's right. Be with us, Nagarjun Dwarkanath, getting in more details as far as the black box is concerned to tell our viewers a little more about what this black box essentially does. Remember, it records vital flight data, which is crucial for probe. It can withstand explosions, fire, and high-speed crashes. Includes cockpit, voice recorder, and flight data recorder as well. It records radio transmissions and cockpit sounds as well. Includes conversation between the pilots, the engine noises, those records, altitude, airspeed, and flight heading, flight data. Reveals the pilot's last actions, and hence the recovery of the black box becomes just so important. And always, in all air crash investigations, recovery of the black box is actually the beginning of the investigation as to what could have horribly gone wrong with the airplane. And that's what is going to be done in the case of AI-171, the Dreamliner that crashed and killed 241 people on board, more people who were not on board. I'm going to go also across to Divyesh for more details on that story. Divyesh is at the civil hospital, I understand. Vidya also continues to be with us. Divyesh, in fact, give us an idea about how soon are those who are carrying out the rescue operations essentially trying to retrieve whatever remains really of the bodies of the passengers on that ill-fated flight. When is that process going to get over? Also, the DNA sampling of just so many passengers, that's a process that's going to take some time, isn't it?
Well, regarding the area where the aircraft crashed, that was at the BJ Medical College hostel. It was till late last evening. There were rescue efforts going on. They were searching for bodies. They were searching for remains, and also they managed to pull out late in the night, like post midnight. There was a body that was pulled out of the rubble at the Medical College hostel. Now, as per sources from the Gujarat Police Department and the local administration, there are no more missing people or no more bodies which could be there in the rubble. There's the aircraft which remains over there, the aircraft's tail which remains over there, that needs to be removed, but that will be done only under supervision of DGCA authorities, Airport Authority of India authorities, and especially the Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau. So all these officials are already present at the spot, and that is why the recovery of black boxes happened. And as Nagarjun pointed out earlier, that this is a crucial piece of evidence and which will give or bring to light the details of what went wrong in the aircraft, what went wrong in those 30 seconds that led to the crash. So this is a crucial piece of evidence. Earlier there was a DVR that was found, then there was a locator and transmitter that was found, and now the black box has been recovered. So black box is very crucial. It's a very crucial piece of evidence in terms of the air crash investigation, and that will bring to light how this crash happened, what went wrong. Obviously, there are ATC details, but they need to also get the flight recorder, the cockpit recorder, to find out what was the kind of communication, what that happened in those 30 seconds between the two pilots. They gave a mayday call to ATC. Before the ATC could respond, the crash happened. So what was the mayday call? Did they point out, did the co-pilot communicate with the co-pilot that there was something wrong? There was no propulsion. How did the plane come down crashing? So that will only be found out with the cockpit recorder and also with the help of the black box, which has now been recovered.
That's right. Be with us, Divyesh. I'm going to go, in fact, back to Preeti once again, who is at the crash site. Preeti, what's the latest that you can share with us? As far as what you see around you, you've, of course, been tracking that story from the civil hospital as well. But as of now, what is going on? Tell us more.
You know, Sneha, we've moved from the civil hospital right now. We're one of the buildings right behind, one of the very few channels that have been able to find this particular position. And I'll ask my camera person, Sanjay, to actually show you, because what we've been discussing right now in the studio is actually playing right behind me. We saw a lot of action just a short while ago when I showed you lots of officials milling right on top, where the tail end of the Dreamliner is lodged into the mess area of the BJ Hospital hostel, and this was the area. Right now you can see a complete lull in activity, because 10 to 15 minutes ago this was the area from which was pulled out the black box. Now that is going to be the crucial point of information on what exactly went down at about 1:38 p.m. last night. What you can see right behind me is also now an attempt to try and dislodge, the wreckage of the tail end of the aircraft. They were trying to do so to extract the black box, but because of, the impact of the Dreamliner on this particular building, the entire structure, because I was there inside late last night, is rather unstable. And that's also one of the main reasons that even for the investigating officials who are there after the extraction of the black box, they have moved down away from the building, and they're because to extract it they had to move the wreckage and therefore destabilizing the building a little bit as well. So yes, the black box has been found. It's been found from the tail end assembly of the Dream liner, which you can see lodged right behind me in the mess area of the BJ hospital hostel. And now is, I would reckon, and I'm sure Sneha Naga is also with us, he'll be able to pitch in terms of what this data could actually entail in terms of information, because this would be crucial. It's been one of the rarest of rare tragedies that both the engines of the Dreamliner have faced an aerodynamic stall, which is no thrust, no power, leave alone one, but both engines together. And that is resulted in this mammoth, catastrophic tragedy in Ahmedabad, the worst possibly that India has ever seen. I'm sure Naga can also pitch in. Over to you, Sneha.
That's right. In fact, this is a question that we are exploring right now on whether there was a double engine failure that could have caused this crash. That's something that we want to talk about. Pilot actually issued a mayday call at 1:39 p.m. yesterday. A mayday call is typically triggered when both engines fail. Now, in case of single engine failure, pilots can usually divert to the nearest airport. Safe landing actually didn't happen, raising suspicion of complete engine power loss. That's also something that needs to be looked at very closely and something that the investigations will eventually reveal. Also to tell our viewers, the double engine failure is actually highly unusual and catastrophic. And that's the reason why questions were being raised on how could it happen. Boeing 787 with a good safety record otherwise has in fact led to this crash, or what really has led to this crash. Nagarjun continues to be with us. Nagarjun, the whistleblower from Boeing had essentially flagged off concerns in the past as well involving 787. How did two engines fail if that was the reason for this crash? These are questions that Boeing has to answer eventually, and that's the reason why the investigations will throw light on whether there are actual faults with 787 as flagged off by the whistleblower in the past, isn't it?
Well, that's true. In 2014, a lot of reports have come through
Yes.
whistleblower as to safety issues of the same Dreamliner 787, and there was tough competition with his Airbus competitors 330 and 350 back then. But initially, it was the reports of battery glitch and engine issues. But the same engine, the General Electric engines, are being used on 777. Both 787 and 777s have had terrific track record over the last 10 years, apart from the battery glitches initially, and Boeing rectified it. And since then, it has got good safety record across India. Many world-class airlines use, including Air India, use 787. Like I was saying, double engine failure is highly unlikely, one in a billion or one in a trillion situation. The aircrafts are such sophisticated, both Boeing and Airbus. Sneha, even if the pilot wants to crash it wantedly or even with purpose, the aircraft sends back a message that it won't. Even if the pilot pushes the stick down, putting the nose towards the ground, the aircraft system automatically takes over and ensures that the plane doesn't go to the ground. That's the sophistication system that we are talking about. And if it has really happened that both engines have failed, or is it because of bird hit, or it was because of manual miscommunication? Instead of putting the wheels up, did the co-pilot push the flaps back on? That's the big angle that the investigative agency will be looking at, because during takeoff we always take flaps either to 25, 30, or 10 or 5 degrees. What are flaps? Flaps are something like extra panels on the wing which creates or gives you more air wing width, so that the lift is increased when during the takeoff. And
Right.
usually flaps are rolled back at 10,000, 12,000 after you have reached certain altitude, because it's not safe reducing the wingspan initial takeoff. So if the captain told the co-pilot to pull the wheels back up, did the co-pilot pull the flaps back up? All these angles will have to be looked into, but seemed like it's unlikely, because both these pilots had tremendous experience flying the same plane. Remember, they're not they're not flying different plane. On the same plane, they've had experience. So unlikely that a small error like this would have happened. But only Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau can come up with the exact reasons and why, if they've lost power and why both engines failed. That's the big question mark as of today.
Well, absolutely. Nagarjun, I'm going to come back to you in a moment from now as far as the investigations are concerned. But to tell our viewers a little about this tragedy, a little more about the devastating air tragedy in Ahmedabad, which has claimed the lives of over 250 people. The pressing question is, what happens next? And most importantly, the answers to what caused this deadly crash. Local authorities are piecing together the final moments of Air India Flight 171 through key evidence, including the black box that is going to help reconstruct the flight path and uncover what went wrong during the takeoff. Analysis of the wreckage will also be done analysis is going to be done of the wreckage to determine the sequence of events and identify any mechanical failures. Aviation consultant John M. Cox says investigators will look into whether the aircraft is properly configured for takeoff, specifically if the flaps that Naga mentioned just now and slats deployed correctly. A thorough review of the aircraft's maintenance logs will be conducted to check for any overlooked repairs or known technical problems.
From the images, we can get an idea of some of the things that the investigators are going to look at. One of which is, was the airplane properly configured for flight? Were the slats and flaps in the proper location? That is something that's on the flight data recorder, so we'll know immediately. Now, the airplane does have a warning system that will advise the pilots with a horn as well as a message on a computer screen if the airplane's not properly configured for takeoff. At this point, it's very, very, very early. We don't know a whole lot, but the 787 has very extensive flight data monitoring. The parameters on the flight data recorder are in the thousands. So once we get that recorder, they'll be able to know pretty quickly what happened.
Vidya also continues to be with us as far as the DNA sampling is concerned. Vidya, family members continue to trickle in to give out their DNA samples. Just tell us, this is DNA sampling for 241 passengers. What's the process really, and how long will before we get to know, before the family members get an opportunity to identify whatever remains really of their loved ones?
Well, Sneha, this is one case where almost everything will really take time. Be it the investigation, the discovery of the black box just now, the decoding, and we all know that Boeing has a lot at stake in this, and so certainly they would want to be part of the investigation. So the investigation and getting to know exactly as to what really led to this will take time. Similarly, right here at the DNA sampling center where I'm located, if I can just show you. These are just families who are just waiting here since yesterday. In fact, some of them have been speaking to them. They reached here around 3 o'clock and they've been just waiting here just to get the report, just to get as soon as the matching report. And they've said very clearly that, when I was speaking to one family, and they said that, if only there was some way to shorten this entire process to just make sure that the handing over of the body would be done at the earliest. So because there's one family of Nadia who was here, and they kept saying that they've been trying to go every few hours they enter, and of course there's a wait of 72 hours. The administration also cannot really do much, but the families are getting restless. They are going every hour, getting inside the sampling center, wanting to know exactly how long it will more, and all that they're being told is you'll get a call. So that's something that the administration and the people who are waiting here, are trying to make sure that the people do not really feel restless. They're trying to ensure that there are seating arrangements, everyone's being provided with food and water. But of course, the people who really want the bodies to be handed over, then they can take it back to Nadia. Say, for example, this particular family, they want the process to really end. They have already lost their near and dear ones, and just hope that it wouldn't stretch this long for everyone to wait. But well. The DNA sampling has been done for the bodies last night itself. Most of the relatives of those people, their sampling has also been done, but except for a few who are still awaited. All this process will has, as the administration has been saying, 72 hours, that is 3 days, is what it is going to take. That's certainly much before when the investigation reports will come out, but certainly it's a very long wait for the family members here at the civil hospital in Ahmedabad.
All right, Vidya, getting in those details, 241 passengers who lost their lives. There was one person who cheated there. Ramesh was seated in 11A, a window seat located in the first row of economy class near an emergency exit. His miraculous escape stunned the world and sparked conversations around social media, with many calling his survival an act of divine intervention. The term Miracle Seat 11A is now trending globally. Here's more on the lone survivor. God's own child, a miracle man. The lone survivor of the horrific Air India plane crash that killed every single of the 241 on board, barring 45-year-old British national Vishwash Kumar Ramesh. It's a miracle amid an unthinkable tragedy, as charred bodies were painstakingly retrieved from the debris of the crash site, no less than a graveyard. A sight of a man walking away from the plane crash site with bruises on his face stunned the nation. While in hospital, Vishwash Kumar Ramesh narrated how he managed the miraculous escape as his seat fell off the plane and he took off his seat belt and walked away from the accident spot.
थोड़ा टाइम के लिए तो मेरे को लगा था कि मैं भी मरने वाला हूँ, लेकिन जब मेरी आँख खुल के मैं देखा ना तो मुझे लगा मैं जिंदा हूँ। तो मैंने ट्राई किया, जब मेरी सीट थे वो मेरी बेल्ट निकाला, मैंने वो ट्राई किया जहाँ से निकल सकता वहाँ से, तो मैं निकल गया वहाँ से। मेरे नजरों के सामने एयर हॉस्टल और दूसरे आंटी अंकल सभी उसमें मेस हो गए थे सभी। मैं जो साइड पे था ना, वो साइड हॉस्टल पे नहीं लैंड हुई थी, हॉस्टल के जो ग्राउंड फ्लोर है ना जैसे नीचे, वहाँ लैंड हुई थी। तो मुझे दूसरे के बारे में मेरे को पता नहीं, लेकिन मैं जहाँ लैंड हुआ था ना वो नीचे की साइड थी। तो जब वहाँ थोड़ा पेस भी था प्लेन के जब बाहर, तो जब जैसे मेरा डोर टूटा ना सब, तो मैंने देखा ना जब सामने कि थोड़ा इधर पेस है, मैं ट्राई कर सकता हूँ निकलने के लिए। तो मैंने ट्राई किया निकलने के लिए, तो फिर मैं निकल गया उधर, क्योंकि अपोजिट साइड पे था ना वो बिल्डिंग का वो था ना दीवार, तो उधर से कोई शायद नहीं निकल सका होगा।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also met with him, wishing him a speedy recovery. Ramesh's own brother, Ajay Kumar, seated next to him, was among the 241 on board the ill-fated Dreamliner who perished. Back home in Leicester, in the UK, India Today met with the family of Vishwash Ramesh.
We've received support from our family members, relatives, friends. They've all come in to give us support, but we don't have any support from the UK's government or the India's government. We've received no updates whatsoever from them.
What is it that you're doing now, and what are the plans?
Currently, right now, we're just waiting on updates on my other brother. That's what we're worried about right now.
The family is still waiting to hear formally from Air India about Vishwash's brother, who has not survived the crash. Ajay Kumar was Vishwash Kumar's co-passenger in the same flight.
Yeah, they were sitting next to each other, but we don't know what happened to his brother. We not heard anything. Yes, we heard that, but we still can't say anything unless we hear it from the proper person. So
Call it the miracle of Seat 11A, as reported widely by the international press. or divine intervention. Vishwash Kumar Ramesh's survival is both a mystery and a miracle. A lone light in a sky clouded with sorrow. Bureau Report, India Today. Preeti, Vishwash Kumar Ramesh talks about how he actually fell off. And that's how he managed to, take his seatbelt off and escape. Actually, just he got up and walked away from the crash site. I mean, this is nothing short of a miracle. It happens, but it's extremely infrequent. It's not happened so often in the past. But there are big questions that remain on how did he survive after that heat of the fuselage, after the impact of the crash, isn't it? How is he doing at this point in time, Preeti?
Are you asking me, Sneha?
Yes, Preeti.
Sneha, was that for me? All right. Okay, Sneha, yes. For what we do know, because the Prime Minister did visit him, and after that we did, of course, see that interview given to another organization by Vishwash Kumar. And the fact is, Sneha, he is, like I said, a miracle in all of this. If 242 passengers were there, 241 have been designated killed and one walked out, so one can very well imagine that it is that Hail Mary moment when it came down to this crash. And what is also, fascinating, one would say, is the sheer fact that he walked out, A, walked out, B, walked out with very little burns. He just has a burn on one side of his thigh is what we are being told. Otherwise, hematoma injury. So he, actually walked out possibly before the entire aircraft was engulfed in a ball of fire. But, what he also did say, and it's important to note during that interview, and I'll ask my camera person, Sanjay, to actually zoom in, because this is where the tail end is there. And he said, I wasn't part, I did not, where at least my seat was there, it wasn't near the tail end or the mess. And understandably, because he was in 11A. So that's a seat right up front of the aircraft near the cockpit. To give our viewers perspective, so this is the tail end right up ahead. You can see those three charred buildings. That was the hostel area. The tail end was lodged in the mess area. That is where the plane had crash landed, had crashed into the mess area. And those three buildings up ahead were the hostel. And that is the area, of course, where the engine, and one of the engines is actually found intact, is what we've been given to understand. And that, in effect, on its own is going to be a case study of a separate investigation, because both of the engines had failed in this Dreamliner. So that is also the area where what you say, Vishwash Kumar, Sneha, was actually, his seat or at least where his part of the aircraft crashed that in that area, and he was able to move out and walk out. Once again, I want to just take our viewers through on the importance of the developments that have happened over the last 30 minutes, Sneha, and that is finding, the black box. And if Naga is still with us, I'd like to, if you allow me, ask him one question, because if you actually, this was something that the investigative agencies, and there are multiple agencies that are working together, looking to figure out if the black box was found. And once it's been found, it's going to be crucial in terms of information on three fronts, Neha.
As far as the recovery of the black box is concerned, but a moment to discuss the man, the lone survivor, who walked away from the crash site. And you can take a look at those pictures, essentially, that had gone completely viral, of Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, the 45-year-old British national, who actually realized that he is alive. Imagine what a moment that would have been. Of course, trauma as well. Also, given the fact that Vishwash Kumar Ramesh, his own brother, was seated next to him, and he perished in that fatal attack. I'm going to go back to Preeti, also discussing the recovery of the black box and the very fact that this is obviously going to offer important clues into how the Dreamliner crashed. Preeti.
That's what I was talking about, Sneha, because the development in the last 30 minutes, away from the human side is all too overbearing, and I would think, that would be etched in civil aviation history in India forever. But talking about the tactical side of it, the discovery of the black box will now be crucial, where the Dreamliner 787 is concerned, on multiple factors. On three main factors, the black box will help. Number one, all the conversations that were recorded in the cockpit now will, one can identify what really happened. Number two, on all mechanical sounds that take place inside a cockpit. So whatever distress signals that were sent out, the machine noise, the beeps, all of that is now going to be lodged into the memory of the black box. And that is going to be crucial, Sneha, because multiple agencies are going to investigate on what really went down. And it will have a bearing on not just this particular crash of the 787 Dreamliner, but will possibly have a bearing on other Boeing aircrafts as well, aircrafts as well. Number 3, Sneha, mechanical parameters, over 1,000 parameters would be lodged in to that black box. And the present day, Gen X black box are a plug in and plug out, kind of devices where they're plugged into a particular device and all the information is immediately gotten out. So it could very well be plugged into a computer, and through that basis of that computer, all the kind of 3 parameters that we actually spoke of will be disseminated. So these 3 factors are crucial right now to understand where we stand in terms of investigation. Was it a pilot error? Was it, a mechanical fault in this particular aircraft? Was it a problem with settings? Was it what many people are still speculating, just a bird hit? And there is a bird problem where the Ahmedabad airport is concerned. And, we've seen this over the course of, the last 24 hours. And most air aviation, experts would say that there is a bird problem where the Ahmedabad airport is concerned. But having said that, all of those parameters would be now recorded. So the bearing of the findings of what comes out of the black box is going to be imperative to know what really went wrong, and does that limit it to this particular ill-fated Dreamliner 787 AI-171 flight, or will it have far-reaching implications? Mind you, we must bear right now in our minds that this is an investigation that has gone beyond just Indian investigative agencies. There are members of the Boeing and lots of other countries who have the Dreamliner, are interested, are inquisitive, are impacted with what has really gone down in the last 24 hours right here in Ahmedabad. So Naga, I want to pull you in on this because that's most imperative right now, because the new age black box devices are plug in, and you would be able to get in all the kind of information immediately, and this could in fact have far-reaching consequences and implications, something that could be limited very well to what we see behind me, which is this particular aircraft. Was it just a malfunction which was limited to this ill-fated flight, or will it actually have implications on other Boeing aircrafts as well, other Dreamliners as well?
Well, irrespective of what the implications or the data comes out, Preeti, most likely it will have implications on other Boeing 787 unless it was a pilot error, unless pilot manually pushed a lever, ensured the engines were cut off or the flaps were retracted. If these are the points that comes out of the investigation, then there'll be no implications. But if it was a technical glitch, yes, definitely there would be implications of Boeing 787 across the world. And already a DGCA and Minister of Civil Aviation Authority has just put out notification of checks to be done starting from 15 June on all 787 that is flying in India. There have to be checks of power control, because all these control systems that pilots uses are fly-by-wire. It's not manual. Hydraulics and electronic systems, motors are used. If to turn right, to turn left, to pull up and pull down, all these are done electronically or through hydraulics. And checks have to be done starting from 15th is what the notification says. And not just that, all electronics have to be checked, all hydraulic systems have to be checked. And every 2 weeks, there has to be a subsequent throat check is what the DGCA notification says. Seems like already the DGCA and the Ministry of Civil Aviation have pulled up their socks to say that we are going to ensure double checks are being done on 787 so that no further accidents or incidents happen, considering there have been issues with the Boeing 787. Whistleblowers have put out reports on what the issues were since 2014. Now the DGCA...
Naga, will you just stay with me and maybe you can talk us through that in terms of your own experience where civil aviation is concerned. Now, the aviation body DGCA has issued new norms. I want to just take our viewers through it, and Naga, pipe in whenever you think right. Aviation body DGCA's new norms include enhanced safety inspection on Boeing 787-89 fleet of MS Air India, one-time check before departure of flights from India, inspection of fuel parameters, monitoring and association of system checks, inspection of cabin air compressor and associated systems, electronic engine control system test, engine fuel driven actuator operation test and oil system check, serviceability check of hydraulic systems, review of takeoff parameters, flight control inspection, power assurance checks, closure of maintenance action based on the review of repetitive snags. Naga, when I go through that list, one really wonders, wasn't this already happening? And if it wasn't happening, then why in the world was it not happening?
Well, it was happening, but now it has to be thorough, and maybe it has to be put it on the logbook or documented thoroughly as well. Nothing wrong in doing double checks. Even the pilots before takeoff, while taxiing, they do the checks. That's the takeoff parameters, and while being at the bay, also do the takeoff parameter checks. And hence, still accidents usually happen, no matter how many checks are required. So DGCA has put it on paper now that it has to be compulsory, not just monitoring visually and just talking to the flight engineer downstairs. The pilot usually talks to the flight engineer in terms of fuel pressure, in terms of engine pressure, and all of it. But now it has to be documented starting from June 15th, just to ensure that there's double check for 787 and further accident or incident doesn't happen. Because we have lost 240 flights, and till the flight data recorder and the cockpit voice recorder, we analyze the data. We can't risk the lives of people still flying 787. Air India largely uses 787 in India to fly west, either to US or to Europe. So till the data is analyzed, let's not take any risk, is what DGCA is saying.
All right, okay. Naga, once again, let's take a moment to reflect on how important possibly, we are standing at the precipice of finding out what really went down yesterday at 1:38 p.m. when the first Mayday signal went out of AI 171 by Captain Sabarwal as the Dreamliner right behind me trammed through the mess area. And then, of course, this is just the tail end, viewers. It's about 600 meters ahead. The debris actually scattered up to 900 meters. In front of it. If you see the buildings on the left and the right, 3 units of buildings completely charred. That's where the maximum fatalities in terms of burns have taken place. On the other side, of course, where the mess area is concerned, 3 fatalities already confirmed of students, mostly hematoma injuries. But Naga, once again, 3 big factors that would have been recorded where the black box is concerned. Number one, all the the conversations in the cabin. Number one, about 1,000 parameters in terms of what really went down in terms of mechanical parameters. All of that now recorded, even machine noise, beeps, distress signals, all of that will be recorded.
Absolutely, Preeti. The analysis would start from the Delhi to Ahmedabad leg. Was there crew resource? If the crew were in tandem, was there any fight between them in the previous leg? Did they have an argument, or were they listening to each other? All that this would be analyzed, and also the crucial data will come from the cockpit voice recorder. When the captain has called Mayday, 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 usually the captain alerts the ATC that, for example, if he's lost engine pressure or engine thrust, he would say Mayday, 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 Air India 171, I've lost power, I've lost thrust, is what the captain would have told the ATC, and hence the moment you plug in the cockpit voice recorder, we know the real reason for the crash, because the captain would have seen the instruments giving out warnings, and he would have communicated directly to the ATC. If not, if there was a manual error, there would be a voice of captain telling the co-pilot, why would you pull up the flaps? Why would the undercarriage not be up? All this conversation between the co-pilot and the pilot would be recorded immediately. And also the person who's sitting at the ATC, the moment he realizes Mayday, Mayday, Mayday has come from Air India 171, he also would transmit the message to the ground apron and fire brigade also. But in this case, unfortunately, the Mayday call came at 600 feet. Even if it was a 2,000 or 3,000, I'm guessing that he would have some time to glide, maybe a minute or so, and maybe try to land on a empty patch. But this time around, it was just 600 feet, and the aircraft started gliding towards the ground.
Naga, would you want to reflect on the, the new Gen X black boxes? Because what at least we've been given to believe by aviation experts, it's practically plug in and you'd be able to get out all the information. So it's literally, plugging in a device to your laptop, and you'd have all over 1,000 mechanical parameters of the aircraft at that point of time on what went down, filtering through.
Well, that's absolutely true. Crucial data, if We are talking about double engine failure. What led to the double engine failure? Was there fuel contamination? Was the pressure not enough, the fuel pressure not enough to the engines? And was there already a snag that during the taxiing that the pilots picked up and they ignored it? These are the angles that the data would give out to the investigative agency, and they also can inculcate further in the training of the pilots that these warnings or signals, if they come during the taxiing, should not be ignored. And what was the aircraft set in terms of parameters? What was the takeoff parameters set in the cockpit? Usually you have flaps at 10, 15, 20, 25, depending on the weight of the aircraft. Or was the aircraft fully loaded? Was the center of gravity moving away from where it has to be? All this data will be analyzed. It would take Preeti at least 2 to 3 months to sit with experts, because it has to be a holistic study. This will have implications. Hence, it will be the most crucial analyzed report before it comes to the government or before it's made public.
All right. So, of course, you're right there. It is going to be a holistic study which will go on for at least a month or two to understand on what really went down. Naga, I want to cut across right now, immediately back to Sneha. Sneha, over to you in the studio.
All right, Preeti getting us those details. Nagarjun Dwarkanath also on why the recovery of the black box is important. Enhanced rules also that has been announced by the authority, by the DGCA, to in fact ensure that there is double check. Double check is something that Nagarjun Dwarkanath mentioned, that the safety inspections have to be enhanced and additional maintenance has to be done. These are things that are being looked at right now, even as the investigations in that horrific crash continues.